In 2016, the Supreme Court blocked Mr. Obama's Clean Power Plan after more than 20 states complained that it exceeded federal law. Elaine, President Trump's executive order urges all federal agencies to revise or suspend any rule that he believes unduly burdens domestic energy production.
Well, Major, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer was asked Tuesday whether President Trump still believes climate change is a hoax. What did he have to say about that?
He did not repeat that phrase, that it's a hoax. He said that the president doesn't believe it's a binary choice, meaning a either-or proposition. He said you can have clean air, clean water, and decent and common sense, to use a common White House phrase, environmental regulation, while also encouraging domestic energy production, exploration, and to the minds of environmentalists, exploitation of domestic energy resources. So that was not a repeated talking point from Sean Spicer today, that global climate change is a hoax. But clearly the movements of this administration are to, first of all, strip away Obamaera regulations dealing with greenhouse gas emissions and encourage, as much as the federal government can, as much domestic energy production as possible. That includes coal, hydraulic natural gas fracturing, and offshore leases for oil and natural gas exploration, a wide array of options that the federal government is now going to greenlight that it wasn't greenlighting before.
Well, Major, we heard the president talk about a war on coal. I wonder if there are any figures here or estimates. How likely is this executive order, how likely is it to spur job growth, as the White House is saying?
Well, the coal industry says it will certainly help. Sean Spicer was asked directly at today's White House briefing, does the White House have any estimate at all how many coal jobs will be created? He said it did not. And it is a hope within the coal industry that this will have a net positive effect. But it's unmistakable, Elaine, that the trajectory, the downward trajectory of coal industry jobs has been precipitous since the mid-1980s. About 180,000 in 1985, down to about 50,000 now, according to the latest statistics from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which monitors all employment in the United States, sector by sector, job by job. And one of the reasons the coal industry has been under so much competitive stress is that in the last 10 years or so, I mentioned it a moment ago, hydraulic fracturing to find and bring to the surface natural gas has made that industry much more price competitive in terms of electricity generation as compared to coal. That's reduced the demand for coal-generated electricity, which has put downward pressure on coal industry jobs, and that, as much as any regulatory action from Washington, has been driving down the number of coal industry mining jobs.
Meantime, leaders in world capitals are watching all of this very closely. What does this mean for the Paris Climate Agreement specifically?
Well, as I mentioned a moment ago, the Obama administration's Clean Power Plan initiative, which was undertaken in a way to suggest to other signatories of the Paris Climate Change Accord that the United States was going to do lots of things it hadn't been doing to address the issue of greenhouse gas emissions, has been put on hold by the Supreme Court. It is legally under review now. But that was at least an indicator of where the U.S. government was heading on this. The Trump administration has now done everything it can to erase that, basically make that litigation as much a non-issue as it possibly can, sending a signal to those nations that have signed on to also limit their greenhouse gas emissions as a part of this Paris Accord. The United States is essentially walking away from that, if not by word, not saying publicly, which this administration hasn't, hey, we're ignoring or pulling out of the Paris Accord. Even if it doesn't say that, the practical effect of this executive order is to move the United States away from those commitments, not toward them, which could undermine other nations' participation. We'll have to see.
All right, Major Garrett at the White House for us. Major, thanks so much.
Sure.